just so I can have some peace at home and play video games in peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't over the Christmas holiday didn't take our little one to daycare when we didn't have to either.
Yeah.
But
Well,
but
in
we
your
have to
particular
pay for
case,
it.
yeah, you had to pay for it. We actually just we paid quite a bit less to just hold his spot for the 2 weeks. So we
Yeah,
kept him home 2 weeks.
I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to pay no matter what. So over the summer, I think there's a hold option where we don't have to pay it, but we talked about it, and honestly, we don't want to get used to not having that bill.
Right.
So we're just gonna keep paying it over the summer, so we have the option to take him whenever we need to. And
Sometimes you need it for your sanity.
right,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah, you
exactly.
do. And the reason we kept him home was because if we had even sent him in for part time for those 2 weeks, they were going to charge us, even though they were closed for 2 days of those weeks, they were going to charge us for the full time. So we were like, well, we'll just keep him home and pay $75 a week as opposed to $200 a week for 3 days of care.
Right,
You
and
found daycare for $200 a week?
Yeah,
You're lucky.
yeah.
yeah, especially in Arlington. Yeah, that is. I mean,
Well,
ours
there's
is.
I think they have to keep it like that because there's so many places around here that you can go to. I mean,
Yeah. Maybe it is the competitive thing. I know that the cost of living in San Antonio is significantly less than it is in the Metroplex, but we used to pay more than that.
My sister was paying over $1,000 a month for daycare in Plano.
For
yeah,
one,
I can believe that in Plano. Arlington is kind of at least the part of Arlington we live in is kind of ghetto, I would say.
you still live over by the Death Star?
No, we moved because that place that was actually nicer part of Arlington. No, we moved because there was no 3-bedroom apartments in that area.
Okay.
So we moved back over to the other side of town where I had lived before I moved over by the Death Star, and it was. I mean, we're living in a 3-bedroom townhouse. I mean,
In
and it's
Spanish Harlem.
actually it's more yeah, it's kind of Spanish Harlem. It's just I mean, there's a bunch of check cashing places nearby that should just kind of give you
Yeah.
You
an
just
idea.
described the entire city of San Antonio.
Oh, I know. That's why I don't go to San Antonio.
Yeah. I remember the first time I went out to your, especially your old apartment, I was like, where are the signs in English?
Oh yeah, the one that was just down the street from where I live now.
Yeah, because I was like, why are there no signs in English? And the place where you live now, like 2 blocks down, is like Chinatown.
Yeah.
This is
What?
huge
Oh,
Asian shopping center.
there's a lot of Asian. Like I think there's a lot of Vietnamese places around here. A lot of Vietnamese people living around here. That's what I've been told. I don't know. I don't pay attention. I'm one of those people. I just go about my business. Don't bother anybody. Nobody bothers me. Type thing.
Right. Well, there were two things that I'm actually uh, dealing with right now that I wanted to talk about tonight. The first one being dad's toys versus kids' toys,
Oh,
because as those of us in the geek community are everybody collects things. Everybody has stuff. Whether it's whatever you're into, everybody has things. Whether it's sports memorabilia or gadgets or whatever.
Funko Pop.
Right. Well, the things that we are into in the geek community tend to be more toy based. I mean, you've got your Hot Toys and your Sideshow collectibles and things like that that are the high dollar things. But at the end of the day, our collectibles are basically the things that are on the shelf, the generic public toys and things that
Right.
are on the shelf.
Like just a. I'll kind of go along with your train of thought, but the end of the Lego movie, I think, is a pretty good example
Right.
of that.
And so I bought Um, I got an Amazon card for Christmas, and I bought a toy from Japan from the Train Power Ranger show in Japan, and I've been wanting it for 2 years now, and I finally got one. And as soon as it came in, Blake was like, "Train, my train." I was like, "Crap!" So now Blake plays with the train, and I can't make him understand Dad's toys versus your toys because he's 2. Um, so, Timmy, I know you've got older kids.
Yes.
What experience have you had of the separation of yours and theirs and whatnot?
It's fairly simple in my case. What I did, if I got something new, I just left it in the package and basically put it on a shelf or hung it on the wall. And then whenever they started getting curious about things, that's whenever they got my hand-me-downs. I know that my son was about, I want to say 3.5, 4 years old whenever the Star Wars prequel stuff came out. About the same age I was when the original trilogy came out, and he was all into it, and I was like, okay. So I went to Granny's storage room, and I pulled out an AT-AT Walker and an Ewok Village and, 4 handfuls of the action figures that I still could find and things like that, and I'm like, here you go. This is Star Wars stuff for you. Daddy's Star Wars stuff stays in the office.
That works. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you give something, you don't necessarily have to give up what you want. Now, the one thing that I'm looking at right now in the office is my Kenner 1979 Millennium Falcon. The kids never saw that until much later, and I'm like, no touchy. That's mine.
Right.
Right.
For Christmas several years ago, I got the 20th anniversary of Voltron. It was die-cast Voltron set, and I never had Voltron as a kid. I was like, I've waited 20 years for this, and I finally have this toy. And my older kids were around, like James was around 7 maybe, and he was like, "Oh, it's a Transformer." I was like, "Back off." Like, Daddy's been waiting 20 years for this. I will cut you. Back off.
Now, see, I at this point, I honestly can't contribute much because Nicole, when she came into my life, she was already 9, and I'll talk about what I want to talk about a little bit later with her, but she doesn't have an interest in most of what I do, and AJ right now is too young to care.
Right.
Other than if he sees something, he grabs it and puts it in his mouth if we let him.
Right.
So
yeah, the main thing I've passed down are my Legos, because we didn't keep my action figures, and because I had a bunch of He-Man action figures, I had a bunch of Ninja Turtle action figures.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sidetrack you, but I remember with some of the things that I had from the time that they came out, I will never forget the time that Jonah, I want to say maybe 4 years old, bit the head off of the original Leonardo
Oh.
that I bought for myself. I about went apeshit, and his mother was like, "It's a toy," and I'm like, "It is so much more than just a toy.
Yeah.
This means something to me."
Yeah. My
See-
wife doesn't get it either.
Well,
I
notice
married
said
a
my
geek
children's mother. I didn't say my
wife.
wife.
My wife is nerdy, so she actually goes out and buys me these things now. So
You won the lottery, brother.
I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife's thing is books. We have books
Yes, you do.
everywhere.
And since I like to read, I actually have borrowed your wife's books before.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife is very cool, but she's what I call nerd adjacent. She understands kind of what I do, but not to the level that I do, unless it's the Muppets. And if it's the Muppets, she's all in.
Well,
The biggest Muppets fan I have ever met in my life.
Okay, just to give you a kind of a feeling about Kelly, because I mean I know you've met her.
Uh-huh.
When the first time that they did the Avengers marathon before the first Avengers came out,
Uh-huh.
where they showed all the movies and it was 15 hours. Her and I weren't actually dating at the time, but we both were like, "Oh, we're going to this," and we sat there together for 15 hours. And I gotta say, once you're 30, doing that kind of thing starts being an actual badge of honor that you survive it.
Wait until you're in your 40s. You'll really understand.
Like if it weren't for AJ, we probably would have done the Star Wars marathon with
Uh,
all the crappy prequels and everything.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but I'm like, no, because I would rather have seen Episode 7 fresh and not just beat down.
Right.
If it were 4, 5, 6, 7, I would absolutely have done it, but just too
Well,
much.
I did it on my own. Like not that day, but like just over the course of a few days, we watched. I watched all
We
of
did
them.
the same thing here because Jenny was like, she was like, it's been so long since I've seen Star Wars. Can we watch it? And I'm like, you don't even have to ask permission in this house to watch Star Wars.
right.
Throw it on.
See, I was gonna try and do a lead up with mine, but they live with their mom, so it's working out time to do that in the short amount of time they're actually with me on the weekends. Uh, was very difficult, and this time of year especially. But someone made the point that that's not their Star Wars. This is Episode 7 is their Star Wars.
I guess it
And
depends on how old your kids are. For you, absolutely that's the case.
right, because
But
my son's going to be 12 in February. My daughter is 9, and the person who made this argument, his son is 5, and he's like, this is his Star Wars. So we're going to go see Episode 7, and then we'll go and see the other one. We'll watch the other ones together, and my other two now, my two now are just like, when are we going to watch Star Wars? Like, I need to see the rest of this. When are we going to watch it? And I was like, okay, there we go. Because they've always had a kind of a passing interest because I was into it, but they've never really been like, let's watch Star Wars. But that they have it now. Having seen Episode 7, they're like, we got to watch this movie now. So I have the rare DVD collection that has the unaltered theatrical versions.
oh man, I'm so
Uh,
jealous. I have that, but it's on VHS.
Well, see, I have two different VHS. I have the original, like the first re-release, then the special edition release. But there was a DVD box set that came out a long time ago. One of the first DVD sets that came out that has a second disc with all three movies, and it's the theatrical version. So I have on DVD both versions of the original trilogy.
I'm way jealous of you right now. I guess, getting back to this is their Star Wars, it depends on how old your kids are. For me, I would say that sadly the prequel is the Star Wars for my son because much like I grew up on the original trilogy, he grew up on the prequel trilogy. And because he and I both loved it so much, my daughter, who was born in 2000, now 15, she loves everything. And I'll be honest with you, whenever the first trailer for Episode 7 came out, I saw it and I was excited. But it
oh
wasn't
yeah.
until later that day, whenever Abigail got home from school, I think she was practicing her saxophone, go band, and she bounced out of her room with her phone in her hand, and she said, I haven't seen this yet. Have you seen it? And I said, baby, what are you talking about? She said, the Star Wars trailer. And I said, yeah, I saw it. And she goes, watch it with me. And I said, okay. So I'm sitting down, and she kind of leans over me and holds the phone out where we can both watch it. And whenever the trailer dips to black, and you hear Harrison Ford say, Chewie, we're home, and then it comes up, she squealed and grabbed my arm, and that's whenever I had chills run down my spine and thought, okay, now I'm exponentially excited about this. I was happy to see it at first, but now I'm exponentially excited about this because she is excited about it.
Right. That's awesome.
We saw it preview night, and she was hilarious about it. She loved the movie, but we went to Alamo Draft House where they have, you can write down what you want to eat or drink on a piece of paper. Well, there's paper readily available, and she started writing down alternate movie titles, which I thought was kind of funny. One of the things that she wrote, probably my favorite that she wrote, was Feminism, the movie.
Right.
Which, that's great. Probably the one that hurt the worst was Chewbacca and the 5 Stages of Grief.
Oh. Oh, that's awful.
He's a nerdy kid, I think, because both her brother and I are.
Now,
I have that with the Marvel movies. Whenever there's a new Marvel trailer, especially my son, he loses his mind over it, and he'll call me from his mom's house, and he's like, "Did you see the new Civil War trailer?" I was like, "Yeah, I did." He was like, "That was awesome." He's like, "At the end, when Cap and Bucky are fighting with Iron Man and they're throwing the shield back and forth, he's like, "When does it come out? Because we have to see it like right now." I was like, "I know." So yeah, that's I have that with him, with the MCU. So
Well, see,
yeah, that's awesome.
I think probably Star Wars is the only connection that we have that is that strong, because at some point, both of my children discovered anime, and as hard as I've tried, I cannot really get into anime.
well, hold on, Timmy. Don't you and your daughter have Supernatural together?
We do, yeah, but as of late, she's been so busy with school and band, she has not kept up with it. And I'm like, they're all on the DVR.
Right.
She thinks Castiel hung the moon.
Well, who doesn't really?
I don't know. I was always a Sam guy.
I got a Dean Funko Pop for Christmas. I definitely like Dean better than I like Sam, but I mean, after what Sam did to Rory on Gilmore Girls, I mean.
Right.
Okay, no spoilers because I just started watching Gilmore Girls.
Oh,
well, it's crap to say no spoilers since it's been off the air for like a decade or something.
Right.
But it's also about to come back on.
Yes, I heard that too. Netflix.
But no, here's what I find funny about Gilmore Girls and Jared Padalecki, is that Sam is Dean.
Yes, yeah. I started watching it with my wife, and she's like, "Oh, that's Dean," and I was like, "No, that's Sam. That's obviously Sam." She said, "No, his name on this show is Dean," and I was like, "That is not okay."
Yeah. Well, Timmy. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, I don't know if you know, but Chris and I actually have the unified CW universe theory.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
because
we've been watching the CW since it was the WB.
I remember that, the fall.
Right, exactly. We both went through the entire run of Dawson's Creek.
I'm sorry.
Oh, dude, yeah, no, we both are big fans of the Creek.
We couldn't wait for we didn't want to wait for our lives to be over.
Yeah, we both.
Great. Now I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head, Eric.
Oh, don't worry. Every time it comes on Sirius, I text Chris, or if Chris is listening to it, he'll take a picture and send it to me, and I'll do, and vice versa.
Yeah, we both survived the decade of Smallville, and Eric did One Tree Hill. I never did One Tree Hill. See, I did
One Tree Hill up until Chad Michael Murray left.
I did Gilmore, and he did One Tree Hill because Eric didn't watch Gilmore till Netflix. But
and only because you kept talking about it.
We developed this theory over the last few months of this shared universe of the CW, because all of the actors, because it started with me sending him a message that I watched an episode of Buffy on a syndicated channel. There was an episode of Buffy, um, or Dawson. There was an episode of Dawson's Creek followed by an episode of Buffy, and they had the same uh, side actor in it. And I was like, the guy that was Jen's boyfriend on Dawson, it was Buffy's boyfriend for like 3 episodes on Buffy. And so we started talking about these different actors that have all been on CW shows. And
Because like Chad Michael Murray has been in Dawson's Creek, was in Dawson's Creek, then in
Gilmore.
Gilmore Girls, and then he got One Tree Hill to himself. And
And-
Jared Padalecki was in Gilmore Girls before getting Supernatural.
And Jensen
And then-
Ackles was on Smallville before going to Supernatural.
Like the season immediately before Supernatural, and then I took it one step further because Jared Padalecki and Chad Michael Murray have a little bit of a beef in Gilmore Girls, and I took it one step further that Chad Michael Murray let Jared Padalecki die in House of Wax because he was upset about the whole thing in Gilmore Girls.
So, yes.
Kind of far out theories, guys. But you know,
Oh, but and it gets even better. Did Barry's dad was so upset with having to be the father of a whiny crybaby Dawson that he faked his own death and then moved to Central City and started a new family and had Barry in the Flash.
Yep.
now wasn't Barry's dad the original Flash?
Yes. On the CBS series.
Yeah.
Yes.
But because of the fact that he was on Dawson's Creek, it works for the theory of CW.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but couldn't you say the same thing about the Sci-Fi Channel? How the same actors keep popping up in different
Oh,
things?
yeah. Sci-Fi is...
I don't
Yeah.
have
Sci-Fi was
cable.
actually building a shared universe there for a while. Their grounded series, like Warehouse and Eureka, are in the same universe because they actually crossed those two shows over.
They
Okay.
cross streams.
And so, yeah, Sci-Fi was actually working on building a shared universe, and then they decided that they needed to have, and I'm a huge fan, but still was the wrong idea, professional wrestling and a bunch of reality TV.
Not good for their...
No, it wasn't. But yeah, on the Flash, there are a lot of callbacks to the original series on the Flash, like the obviously the Trickster, Mark Hamill's Trickster, the scientist from the not Star Labs scientist, the British chick. I can't think of her name or her character's name off the top of my head, but she's playing the same, not the same character, but the same character name as she had in the CBS series, because she was Flash's Oracle in the original series.
Okay.
And so she's playing a scientist by the same name, same character name. But my favorite nod to the original series is the mayor of Central City was in the current series there was this Abbott and Costello pair of cops in the original series, and there was the straight one and there was the comic relief one, that he was the only one that ever saw the Flash of the two of them, and he kept trying to convince his partner that the Flash was real. And he kept saying, every episode he saw him, and he's like, oh, look, there he is, and his buddy would turn around, and he's like, you're seeing things, you're crazy, the Flash isn't real. That guy played Tony something, I don't know the last name, Officer Tony something. He is now Mayor Anthony thing in the current series, implying that that officer is now the mayor of the town.
Well,
And he goes by Anthony now because Tony is too informal for a politician.
And to be fair, they've made it seem like Trickster being in jail is from like when they introduced the Trickster in this series, was that it's the same. I mean, it's the same Trickster
Oh yeah,
from the original.
it's very strongly implied because even his police file is pictures from the original series.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, if you look in the season 1 episode, the police file they have up on the screen in Star Labs has a bunch of pictures, and they're screenshots. They're like stills from the original series.
That's cool.
So, well,
So
Timmy, the other thing I really wanted to talk about, especially with having you here, you kind of brought it up a little bit and didn't even realize it. Your daughter is very active in band.
Yes.
And I know you were active in band as well. My son is in 6th grade right now, and he's going to be going into 7th grade next year. My daughter is in 4th grade, and then of course we have the 2-year-old. I'm in this. I'm in this area now with my kids of they're getting to choose extracurricular activities, and I really would love for them to do band because I loved it. I had such a great time. I went to college with it and everything. My son wants to do sports, and that's just weird for me because I played soccer. That was the only sport I was ever good at. But once I got into middle school and we didn't have Pee Wee teams anymore, I dropped it. I tried to play basketball because I did enjoy playing basketball, but I just wasn't physically able to play it. There was just too much. I didn't have the stamina for it. And so my question is trying to steer this into succinct talking point. Um, the line between letting your kids do their thing and directing them towards something so you can share that experience. You get what I'm trying, where I'm going with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really depends on the personality of your kid and what their natural abilities are. I say that because Jonah, whenever he was maybe 4 years old, we put him in gymnastics so that he could wear out some of his energy and actually take a nap, which that was the theory. It did not work. He went on to be a competitive gymnast at 7, 8, and 9 years old. I guess he may have been 10 or almost 10 by the time he decided he was tired of it. But he is a natural athlete to the point that he went out of gymnastics he was just doing summer swim team for a while. And then whenever he got into middle school, he went straight into football and was a football player in high school and now plays on Southwestern University's football team in college. That was his personality. And he is as big a nerd as I am. He's he's a cloud. He can kind of float from one group to the other and fit in kind of wherever he is. He can be a jock, and he can be a super nerd with his gifted friends, or as it was in high school. And he kind of fit in both places. Abigail plays sports, but her heart is not in it. She does it because let me rewind. She did in middle school. She played basketball and ran track because she thought that it was good for her to stay physically fit. Now that she's in high school, she is a band nerd and she is all in. As a matter of fact, she woke up this morning and she's like, I want to warn you guys, I'm kind of salty. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And she said, state auditions are today. She said, I only made it to regional and I missed area by 1 chair. She is a much better musician than I ever was at this age than I was by the time I had gone through junior high, high school, and 4 years of college. because her heart is in it and she cares. As far as what your question is, the shared things, it it depends. Honestly, I think with Blake, there's not going to be any problem for you, Chris, because his mom's a band director.
Right. Oh yeah, Blake doesn't stand a chance.
I think as far as James and is it Lily?
Lily, yeah.
Yeah, as far as James and Lily, it's kind of a toss up.
Well, I will say this. I actually have known Chris's ex since before I knew Chris.
Okay.
They don't stand much of a chance of not being nerds. I mean,
That's true.
they're going to be nerdy in some way or shape or form. They just may not be band nerdy.
Right. And see, James is analytical the analytical one, and Lily is the creative one. Lily
Okay.
has always been the creative one. She likes to craft, and she's learning how to sew because their mom is a costumer, so she's learning how to sew, and she does ballet, and she tried to do t-ball because her brother did. But she hated it, and so she's not athletically inclined in outside of doing dance. But she's the creative one. James was given like their elective choices. They were given band, choir, or technology applications, and he picked technology applications because he's the Minecrafter and the Lego builder and the gamer and that kind of thing. And so we do have that. Like he and I do have like the tinkery technical stuff, but I have nothing to bring to the table as far as sports goes. He wants to play football so bad he can't stand it because we wouldn't let him play because he has migraines, and we've told him, and he's been cool about it. He hasn't fought with us about it. My kids are the most level-headed kids I've ever met.
You're
Because
blessed.
I think it's because of the situation. James was 2.5 and or 3.5, and Lily was just turned 1 when their mom and I split up, and that's kind of all they've ever known. And so I think because of the situation, they've always been able to be level-headed about things. Like if I can't make something, they both are like, we understand, it happens, and they're disappointed, but it's not the end of the world if I can't make it to a soccer game because my car's in the shop and they live an hour away, things like that, which actually did happen this season. But James has migraines, and he has a quarterly appointment with a neurologist to make sure his migraines are in check. And I've told him, I'm not going to have some kid's dad be responsible for your well-being on the football field. You can play football when you can do it in school, and there is a trained professional that is responsible for making sure you don't get hurt, not just some kid's dad that I bet I can throw a football over the mountains.
Uncle
And
Rico.
right, exactly.
Uncle
Uh, yeah, and he's always been cool with that. But we're there, and we're one semester away from the promised land, and he's playing football in August, and he cannot wait. I have nothing to bring to the table for that. Like I can't help him with that. I and so I'm kind of struggling with him going down this road that is completely foreign to me. And so
I will tell you from my own personal experience, what I did was what I do. I was never ever an athlete. Yeah, I made it to all the football games and I played every game. I played tuba.
right,
But because of my profession, I went to all the football games and I stood on the sidelines and I videotaped and I made highlight reels and gave stuff to the coaches to kind of help them out. That way I still kind of participated with him and all of his friends knew who I was. And if you can find some way to kind of get involved with it,
uh-huh.
I think you will not find yourself to be so much of an outsider, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and that is my concern is being the outside looking in because I mean I've been to countless football games in band and now my wife's
Being
band
being
and
it being in band in Texas, yeah, you don't have a choice.
right. And so I mean I've been to game. I mean I that's why I mean I have my grumpy old man I don't persona of I don't do the sports ball. um, I have a passing knowledge of most sports, um, and I understand football. I've played enough Madden in my day that I understand the game of football, and that's he and I play NCAA on the Xbox all the time, and so I mean I can relate to the game and things like that. Like I keep telling him he's going to be a lineman. That's just the way he's built. They're gonna take one look at that kid, especially once he hits puberty and testosterone gets a hold of him. He's going
Yep.
to be a Mack truck, and so they're going to take one look at that kid and give him a set of pads and put him on a line and tell him to hit somebody.
AJ's going to
Um,
be a kicker. Just
and so we can like I can relate to him about the game, but outside of that, I don't have any experience that I can that
um,
I can share
And
with him.
nor did I, but I mean, my thing is, I found a way to participate that was both acceptable to a preteen and then teenager because their thoughts on it actually matter as well. I found a way to participate that was not only acceptable to him, but actually, in the long run, helpful to the coaches because I gave them all the video.
Right.
So I don't know what suggestion to make to you as to how you can get involved, but the bottom line is no matter what your kids love, if they love it, you have to love it too. Otherwise it'll be miserable.
yeah,
Right.
I'll kind of agree coming from a different aspect of it. From two different aspects. One as a stepfather myself, but also the way that I was raised. You know, I probably played baseball much longer than I would have because I loved the game of baseball, but I sucked playing. And I probably played longer because my stepdad kept me in it. And you know, I when you're not any good, you don't really feel like going out there and striking out every time and knowing you're going to strike out or you're going to walk and then being put in left field. Like that's the only position you ever play is left field.
And the 2 years I played, that's the only place I ever played was left field. I understand.
Yep.
Um, and now coming in with Nicole, and it was kind of this kind of feeds on to what I was wanted to talk about is, you know, it's definitely different because I came in when she's 9. You know, I wasn't there for the formative years. We don't have that, you know, that bond that, you know, you get with a real young kid. I mean, and trying to she's not interested in a lot of my fandom. She has her own and there's stuff that I'm interested in. But I just try to be as active and as interested in what she wants to do as I can. And, you know, she likes art and I can't really draw, but you know, I try and encourage her to do what she likes. And I've tried to lead her towards certain things and it didn't work out and I moved on. You know, I didn't force the issue. And the one thing that I can say is that I get to be her OM coach, which was something that I did when I was in high school or middle school, and now I get to help her with it as the coach. So, but I would say just try and be involved in any way you can, and to show that you're supportive no matter what. Because on my end, growing up, my stepdad didn't know what to do with a kid who wasn't good at sports and who had interests more in playing video games um, and being on stage than in, you know, being out there putting on pads.
Yeah, and I was the same way. My dad and I are very similar, and he was in band, and he I was born with a mouse in my hand. So, which is the funny thing about that is my dad is the one who got me into um, computers and electronics and technology, and now he calls me for tech support. Uh, and so yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Don't have I didn't have your experience, Eric, where your stepdad and your stepdad were on different paths, because my dad and I were, other than my dad's an accountant, and
And likes the sports ball.
likes the sports ball. Of course, he also likes NASCAR, so there's no accounting for taste. Um, but so yeah, I don't have that experience to draw on, but uh, I know he's only, what, 8 months old now, but um, I don't know what Kelly's extracurricular background is, but um, you said, because you inherited Nicole at 9, um, you have a blank slate. Um, are you? I don't even know how much interest in theater are you? Have you thought about trying to foster with Blake with AJ?
I honestly, because of how I was raised, I now see, like I said, I had my stepdad who just didn't know what to do with me. I mean, and I will say that it was never that I didn't have interest in sports. I just wasn't, other than soccer, I wasn't really good at anything. And soccer, I was probably like I probably could have played on my high school team, but that would have been about as far as I went with soccer. Like I was never one of the greatest players, but I was a fair enough player that I could have played varsity and you know and done that through high school. And but I also had, on the other end of things, I had my grandmother who pretty much allowed me to foster any interests that I'm in that I had. And with AJ, I'm going to try and take that approach. I'm not going to necessarily. Yes, I'm going to try and get him to enjoy the sports teams that I like, but I'm also not. But I'm, at the end of the day, whatever he's interested in, that's what I want to try and encourage, and that's what I try to encourage with Nicole. Is that I want them to do what they enjoy, as opposed to trying to live vicariously through them or make them into who I want them to be. Because at the end of the day, I think they'll be happier if I allow them to be them, as opposed to who I've dreamed of them being.
That is absolutely true. I can tell you from experience one of my kids is practically a grown man. He's 19. And the other one, she's kind of figuring out who she is, but she did that on her own. And I think that kind of breeds happiness.
Yeah, I mean, and with the AJ and Nicole, we still kind of try to foster some love, and this was what I was going to talk about, is what you do when your kid isn't interested in your fandom, is that we've kind of tried to foster interest in our fandoms. And Nicole has, like, is kind of likes the Harry Potter movies, but can't get past like the first couple chapters of the first book. And she's I took her to see the new Star Wars movie, and she's actually shown a little bit of interest in seeing the next one. But for the most part, she did. I would sit there and I would try and get her to watch Star Wars, and she doesn't care.
Right.
She's just like it, you know. And like she saw the new one, I took her to see that on Monday, while because it was the one, and because her and I also haven't gone out and done anything, and I wanted to see it again. And Kelly thought she would like the fact that the main character was female,
Yeah.
and afterwards she said it was okay. It was a Star Wars movie, and that she liked it better than the originals. But now she's saying she's got to find out what happens with Luke and Rey. So, but it's kind of difficult when you want to share this stuff, and she's just like, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, like James and God love him. That kid, he's me made over. He in fandom,
Yeah,
uh, in the fandoms, he's me made over. I mean, we watch Raw, and we watch Power Rangers, and we watch the comic book stuff, all the different comic shows. Um, Lil Lil is struggling with finding herself. and it'll get better as she gets older. I know it will, but they're the only people in each other's life. I mean, they don't have friends where they don't go to other people's houses and like to friends' houses or anything like that. They don't really have friends or anything outside of school. Like school is the only place that they have any socialization that's not the two of them, and it's products of the situation and whatnot. But Lil loves all of these Disney Channel uh, sitcoms like Liv and Maddie
Yeah,
and Girl Meets World and
we
Austin and Ally and all that. Now, Girl Meets World, I started that. Like, I didn't argue with Girl Meets World because I was such a fan of the original. Um, but that's what Lil and I do is we watch all these Disney sitcoms together, and I've kind of gotten into them just like you do when you watch something for long enough.
right.
We'll get into it, but Lily is the reason I'm a brony.
And see, that's kind of I'm kind of starting that with like they've finally put all of Phineas and Ferb on, and I've watched a couple. I've watched some Phineas and Ferb.
That is probably the greatest written thing that has ever been on television. It is fantastic. And I
Yeah,
used to
So
watch
I
that.
I've started going through that with Nicole. And we do share like Boy Meets World. She does love it. Um, she like we because we I got the box set last year for my birthday, so we've watched a little bit of that, and she enjoys that. And I've watched a little bit of Girl Meets World with her. Um, so I mean, there's her getting interested in her fandoms is you know is kind of is something I'm trying to do.
right. And it's funny how the two situations mirror each other because um, James is going down a path of extracurricular that I'm not familiar with, and it's not. I mean, I would love to have him to been interested in music and him to been interested in band, so that we could share that. But we do have our fandoms that we share, and I find it interesting and we hadn't talked about this either. Neither one of us knew what the other one wanted to talk about tonight, and that we both kind of brought the same problem to the table from different perspectives.
Yeah,
Um, and the answer is the same for both problems. It's just meet them where they are, and
Exactly.
yeah,
and find a common ground with what they're into. Now, James has become one of these kids that watches people play video games on YouTube.
yeah.
Oh,
Nicole's that way with Minecraft.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't. James talks about these YouTubers like they're his friends, and
Yeah,
it's just like he is a fan of these YouTube people, and I'm like I don't even know
you literally can't even.
I literally can't even.
Exactly.
um, so that's his thing. And it's funny because we kind of have an understanding that he'll even say he's like I'm gonna go. He's like, can I go watch TV in my room? Which means I'm gonna go watch YouTube, and because he doesn't have cable in his room or anything, so can I go watch TV in my room means he's gonna go watch these video game shows. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. He was like, you can judge me if you want, it's okay. And then he goes off to his room. So we kind of have an understanding. But yeah, with Lil, like, and I've Lil and I go, uh, like, if we need to make a random uh, trip to the grocery store because we forgot something, she usually comes with me for little trips like that. Um, and I flat told Lil before, I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. Like, I honestly have no idea what to do with you because we just don't have that much shared ground. And I try to do something with the kids for their birthday that's just me and them. And with her, it's so hard to come up with something to do with her that's just the two of us because I don't know what to do with a 9-year-old girl.
Well, but she's getting to the age now where you're like, hey, why don't you pick? And that gives her a little bit of autonomy, and it really
Right.
solves the puzzle for you.
Yeah, and that she is starting to ask for things, but we she's, God love her, she's so, both of my kids have such bleeding hearts. Like, they both want to be friends with everyone and want everyone to be friends and don't understand why the world is not like that. They don't understand bullies because they can't grasp the concept that people are mean just for being mean, because they literally want to love everyone.
Which is
And
wonderful. I wish my kids weren't so jaded.
oh, I'm so, like, my kids are miraculously well adjusted for the split household situation that we have. Um, but Lily is just so loving in that way that we watched the third Equestria Girls movie on Netflix, and that's all she wanted to do. She's like, I want to spend some time with you. I thought we could do that. And she sat up in my lap. She's 9 years old. She sat in my lap for an hour and a half, and
Awesome.
we watched a movie together on Netflix. And that's all she wanted, and she was totally happy with that. And then she went off and did her thing. Um, so yeah, like, we'll have little dates where we'll go. I took her to see Cinderella, and then we had lunch together, and we'll do little things like that. But it's getting difficult to find an avenue with her. So
And see, that's actually kind of my concern with Nicole is that she's starting puberty, and
yeah,
That's
she
ugly.
is.
I
and
don't
it's
envy
it,
you at all.
and it's not going to be long before it's going to be really hard for me to get any inroad with her
Right.
because I mean, pu- I mean, teenage girls are just. I mean, I have two sisters, and so that's my experience with teenage girls is my sisters, is that they just it's gonna be really hard for I'll still be there for her, but she's gonna probably start you know not wanting to be around us as much and wanting to strike out on her own. And so I'm trying to while I still can and can really make those inroads, I'm really trying to
And
because
from experience, Eric, that will happen. She will kind of try and distance herself from you. I've seen it. And the only advice that I could give you is be there as much as you can for her. And really, the times that she does want to spend with you, just cherish that.
yeah. So
Yeah, puberty is ugly. It was
Oh yeah.
it was not difficult for Jonah, but with Abigail it was completely different. And at this point in her life, she must have been about 10 and a half, almost 11, whenever she became a young woman. And at this point, at 15, she'll warn us. She'd be like, "It is my time of the month. You need to back off." Which I honestly appreciate. I won't get on her butt if I know that it's only going to lead to a fight.
Right.
And that's pretty much just open communication, which
and
you need with every relationship.
and see that's actually something that I'm actively working on is because I know in myself that I have a bit of a temper, and there are times that I know that I get on to Nicole you know for things I overreact because my temper takes over as opposed to just addressing the situation for what it is. I let the anger at the situation be in control as opposed to what does the situation actually call for, and that's something that I've been working on because I'm afraid that if I let my anger react too much, especially since I'm the step parent, that's gonna put a wedge between me and Nicole that can't ever be bridged.
Right.
Right.
So, and I
Well,
I actually feel like I've been getting a little bit better, but there's still
well, my concern, puberty wise, because James is any day now, really is gonna. I mean, he'll be 12 in less than a month, and
yeah
I mean, it's
And
it's coming, and when we've already seen that it's starting. He's a very sensitive kid, and I was too. Um, and so I'm seeing myself go through like I'm watching myself go through puberty again,
right.
and I feel bad for him
Yeah.
because I know what I went through as a sensitive kid. And we joke that like he's a lover, not a fighter, and that's I've been trying to encourage him to figure out how to be a little more aggressive athletically because he's I'm not sure football's going to be a good fit for him because he's not aggressive. And we've actually been trying to steer him toward some non-contact sports because the school district he's in starts powerlifting in middle school. And so he can actually do powerlifting next year. And he's built for it. If you've Timmy, I don't think you've actually ever met my kids, but Eric, you've seen James. That kid, he's built for powerlifting and things like
Yeah.
and it's a competitive sport, but it's really you're competing against yourself as much as anything. Um, and it'll accommodate his asthma and it'll accommodate his migraines. Uh, and I think he can do really well in powerlifting and then in like
Shot
shot put,
put.
yeah, shot put discus kind of stuff. And he was really encouraged by that. But he's not an aggressive person unless it's his sister. He's a jerk to his sister.
Well, then if he plays football, just say, pretend that the person across the line from you is your sister.
Visualize and attack. Um,
The
but yeah, and
water sucks. It really, really sucks.
but yeah, I feel so bad because I know what's coming for him, and I've warned his mom repeatedly of what she's going to have to deal with for the next several years. Because he's already getting emotional when he gets overwhelmed. Because
Yeah.
I've taught sixth grade for almost 10 years now, and there's not a creature on this planet that cries more than a sixth grade boy. And I mean, he's in sixth grade, and he started like he was fight. You could see that he was fighting it back. We were at a new restaurant, and he couldn't decide what he wanted because he'd never been there before, and there was too many options. Um, and he was starting to get overwhelmed, and you could see that he was fighting back a bit of an emotional breakdown. And so yeah, like I feel so bad for the kid because it's going to get ugly, and he and I are going to have the talk soon. We've had the hygiene half of the talk, and now we're going to have the other half of the talk. As his mom put it, please explain to your son why he keeps getting an erection.
Yeah, we've had to have a few talks with Nicole, and it's definitely I will say it's definitely more interesting coming at it with a girl than it is with a boy,
Yes, I'll give you that one.
because I mean I'm having I know like we've talked with Isaac, who's Kelly's stepson and my stepson through proxy. Um, and I know we're going to be talking with AJ about how to treat a girl with respect and all that. But it's definitely knowing that I have to tell Nicole once because right now she still thinks boys are gross, which I'm very grateful for, because
Yes, be that way.
yes, boys are gross.
Yes.
Except AJ. AJ's cool, but he's 8 months old, so
He's a cool brother. He'll always be cool.
Right.
But having to tell her, don't let a boy make you feel like you have to do anything. Don't let a boy, all that stuff. I mean, this was stuff that I wasn't, that just 5 years ago I wasn't planning on having this talk anytime soon.
Right.
I was like,
Well,
oh,
and
okay.
I will back Nicole up on that. As a teacher at her school, of the grade she is in,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
they're all gross. I can
yeah.
absolutely vouch for
The
that.
the two that I know, I one of them is a young version of me, as far as just he's completely hyperactive and wants so much to for everybody to kind of like him,
Hmm.
but at the same time he does it in a way that annoys everybody, including me. But I know that it's me that I'm looking at with him.
Right.
And then the other one, you know, he wants so. I feel bad for him, and you know him. I feel so bad for him because his family, he's the nerdy one,
Right.
and so he desperately is trying to, like he talks to me about the nerdy stuff because his parents don't care about it, but at the same time,
Right.
I see absolutely no interest from like Nicole having any interest in either of them because like
Yeah.
they're just
No.
not the kind of people, like other than as friends and teammates. She just
Yeah. Middle school boys are stupid anyway.
yeah.
It's been my experience that all boys are stupid until about 25.
No,
This
we're
is
still
true.
stupid after that. We never stop being stupid. We just find a better. We just get better at masking it for for the times that we have to be adults. But
I think you're onto something, Eric.
I mean, I still want to go to the mall with this. Go to the mall with the slinky to the escalator and put it on and just see what happens. I'm 34 years old and I still think that that would be the greatest thing ever. Do I know that that's stupid? Yes, but at the same time, it
Okay.
doesn't change the fact that I want to do it.
Okay. I spent 30 minutes playing with a morpher from Japan that uses a little train and posed with it and everything and had a blast. I could play with that thing all day long, and I just turned 35. So,
Yeah,
but well, Eric, it sounds like you need to go, and we're at an hour anyway.
right.
So, Timmy, thank you so much for being on here with us.
Hey,
Feel free to join us anytime.
yeah.
Because
And
Chris and I tend to talk in circles.
and so I just downloaded Blurred Nerd episode 5. Looking forward to that. I have an hour. I have a 2-hour daily commute to work, 1 hour each way. So I live by audiobooks and podcasts. So I have a new one. So I'm very happy.
I hope that you're not disappointed. I listened to it just before I came on air with you guys, and I was like, man, maybe I had a little too much rum with Marcellus.
So, well, I like marathoned the first 4 episodes because I'm on Android and podcasts are tricky to get on an Android. And I finally got the right RSS feed for it to pull down the episodes. So I marathoned the first 4 episodes last week. And so I'm loving it. So y'all should absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them too.
Y'all should check it out. It's the Blurred Nerd podcast, part of the Geek Vengers, our friends out in San Antonio. So let's see.
You know,
Let's see. We close out with a bit of fatherly advice. So okay, here's my fatherly advice. It's cold and flu season, so this is really useful. If you're ever using a bulb syringe on a baby, to pull the stuff out of their nose, make sure you squeeze the air out of it first before you put it in the baby's nose. I'm not saying
Where were you 6 months ago when I was first dealing with this, Chris?
If you don't squeeze the air out first, all it does is kind of make their eyes bug out of their head and really piss them off. Like I did that to James, and that's my go-to first weird dad thing I did, as not knowing what to do with the baby. So yes, make sure you squeeze the bulb syringe first and then put it in their nose, because it's really bad if you don't.
Um,
So-
my bit of fatherly advice is one that I'm actually going through right now. Um, when your kid is learning how to stand, they're gonna fall. So try not to let it get just try not to let it freak you out too much because they will be okay. I promise.
Yeah, that's true. The more you react, the more they'll react. So,
Because
Timmy, have you got any fatherly advice to share with us before we go?
Yeah, sure. Abigail is 15. She got her learner's permit last week.
Stay
And
off the roads of San Antonio.
right.
Well, you should do that anyway.
I don't disagree with that statement much. Now, if you're going to let your kid drive your car, make sure that you have a bottle of whiskey at home for recovery after they do it. No, in all seriousness, be patient and stay off the major roads when your kids start to learn how to drive.
Good. What James will be 12, so yeah, we're coming up on that soon. So I will.
Sooner than you want it to be, brother.
Right, absolutely. So,
Well, we're planning on taking because Nicole's going to get the Rio when she turns 16, so that she can help shuttle AJ around.
That's so helpful. To have one kid drive the other one around, that's a blessing.
And so I'm actually going to be taking her out before she even gets to the official point because she's going to be learning she's going to be driving a standard. So we're going to be taking her out to kind of get an idea about that before she even starts driver's ed.
right.
Just make sure she's not afraid of it. I learned how to drive on a standard, and I've never had any problem.
I had to drive to my prom in a standard, and I had a week of training, and I wasn't really good at it, but after a while, it just became second nature. So
Sure, yeah, you can think about it after a while.
Yeah, I learned how to drive on a standard as well. So, and that's what I still drive a standard today. So, well, thanks again, Timmy, and we'll see you guys next time.
Okay.
Yep.